Today, we're going to talk about estate planning. I think as we get older, I know for me, I got my Social Security tab. I'm eligible to take my benefits now if I wanted. So as we get older, these things become more prevalent. So I know you have a lot of experience in that. And I recently received an email kind of by accident. I'm on your email list, but it was the family treasure map. It really just kind of reminded me that we need to be discussing these things, with our clients, with the people we love and care about more often. So tell us a little bit about why you put that together and tell us about that.
It's funny you brought up age, because age is a factor. I think when we're younger, we go through traumatic family loss, we go through deaths, but we're not always in the position to see it from the lens of those who have to pick up the pieces financially, and in dealing with all of the legal and the tax and the financial ramifications that goes with death. So experiencing that at that age is a new experience for a lot of people. And I've had the experience of working with clients through those scenarios. I've had it in my personal life. And usually, if that happened and I saw folks struggling through that process, I usually assumed it was because they didn't have a good estate plan in place, or they didn't have an estate planning partner or attorney, or it just hadn't been something that they had dealt with. But I had a couple opportunities to watch families who absolutely had estate plans in place and had partnerships with attorneys. But what we found was that not everybody that has even the written estate plan in place is really prepared at the moment when it arrives. There are those out there that have no estate plan and have put forth no planning for that eventuality. And if that is you, then I encourage you listening to change that today. But even beyond that, those who have put estate plans together, we don't always want to assume that because the binder exists that you know what to do. So really what I did was I built something that I wanted to be a useful tool for a family to be able to communicate their wishes and have it be something that is usable.
The estate planning is typically one of the first things that I try to talk to people about. Before we get into anything else, everybody wants to talk about the money, but it's like pulling teeth sometimes. And so my mother turns 90 this month. And, when I was younger, or when I first got in this business, especially, I would ask her, have you done this stuff? And she would say stuff like, well, I don't have any money, so what difference does it make, right? But she's feeling that today because my dad and my stepdad have passed, and, she's basically living on her own. And we've got some longevity in our family. My aunt and uncle lived to be 96, 98, my great grandmother to 106. So, what good's it going to do for us to live that long if we don't have any money, if we don't have a plan? We're going to cover these critical issues and how you can avoid some of these pitfalls: taxes, uncertainty, family disputes. We do recommend that you have somebody locally if possible, but nowadays you can do a lot of this stuff on your own. You can do it online, but you do need to have something, especially if you have minor children. Very important to have that. So
I'll just run it through it quickly. And if anybody wants a copy, reach out for sure, and we'll make sure you get one.
Yeah, we'll put all this in the show notes, and you can get a copy of this just by asking.
Yeah, it comes from a place of love. You're doing this for your family because you love them, and you don't want to create problems for them. And money is an important part of every family. So I gave space here to tell a little bit maybe about family history. I think it's more than just dollars and cents when we talk about estate planning and generational planning. So what is the family history? What did mom and dad have to do to get the money that we're even here talking about? What did grandma and grandpa do to help mom and dad or to hurt mom and dad. The history is just a good place to capture those thoughts when you have time to sit quietly and think through them. And I think this is a very valuable, underused tool that families could get a lot from. So the family love letter is just capturing critical lessons learned. So what do I want my family to learn from my experience? If I'm the one that passes, what do I want them to know about what I think is important in life? What's the most important thing I've done in my life? If I leave an inheritance, what would I want you to accomplish from that? Right? Do I want you to just speed off in a fancy new car, or what wishes do I have? How would I like to be remembered? So this is just a little spot for a love letter to your family and to communicate some of those. And then we get into the nitty-gritty, the important information, the personal details that you'll need. If your spouse or somebody that you love passes away and you're trying to help them through this, it's good to know, what other personal details. If they have an employer, who's a contact there, who are their advisors? Who did they work with? It's very uncommon for a child to know who their parents' CPA is or who the estate planning attorney is. If they had benefits at the workplace, what is the value of that, and who should they contact? If they had business ownership interests. And then just capturing assets. And I apologize for the view. This is built as a foldable document, but assets, where are they? Who's the custodian? Who's the owner? What's the approximate value? An account number. Who is the beneficiary? Who should I contact? If there's veteran benefits, if we have liabilities that the estate will face, any estate work that is done can be summarized here. Insurance coverages. Insurance coverages are always one of the very first thoughts that go through the mind of beneficiaries of loved ones that are surviving the deceased. So capturing where is the insurance, who do I contact, what's the policy detail, any personal property. This is kind of, you never want to laugh. We make jokes about it, but I have seen families literally tear themselves apart over a lampshade or over grandma's earrings or over a bowling ball, right? So
absolutely. It's funny you say that, because I brought up my mom a little earlier, and in reality, she was raised on a farm, and my grandparents had 300 acres. They had 3 children. They left them each 100 acres. So she inherited, quite a bit of land. Do we have any of that today? I mean, to play on what you were saying, I saw my mother and my aunt, who was very prim and proper, fighting like cats and dogs over little bitty pieces of furnishing in the house, right? Little bitty things. And so, yeah, it happens. And that's why you need to write it down, right? I mean,
I'll tell you, in the realities of life, it's one of the most important sections. Like I said, it's not all about dollars and cents. Real life matters. Having your wishes clear is of the utmost importance. And so safekeeping, if they have a safety deposit box, who can get in it? Where is it? Where's the key? Nowadays, passwords, online passwords. If you don't have your spouse or whoever passed away, if you don't have their passwords, you're in a lot of trouble. You can't get into their bank account. You can't get into the things that you're going to need when the time comes. So just any other wishes in the event of my death? Are we going to do a cremation? Are we doing a funeral? Who do I want? What do I want my obituary to say? You can have input into all of that, and it can be done and planned ahead of time. And as much of this, the more you map out for your family, I promise the more they will appreciate the effort that you put into it. And like I said, I think many times it goes even beyond just going to the attorney and getting the will and the estate, I think. So it was important to me to have a tool that could be a value add for my clients and my people. So
that's great. And, to us who do this on a daily basis, sometimes we just kind of take these things for granted. And because everybody, again, seems to be caught up in what's happening now in the news and money, we forget the little things, and these things are important. To see our complete breakdown with Mark and get your hands on the family treasure map, go ahead and click this link right now, or check the description in the video below. Don't leave your legacy to chance. Make sure your assets are protected.